The first thing everyone notices about Ping Pong the Animation is how frantic it is. From moment to moment, the frame may cut a dozen times, not just new images, but literally, as we go split screen to focus on multiple angles and character expressions. This mixed with grimy and liquid character renderings create an unforgettable and unique feeling to the show. But why would a series centered around high school ping pong players require rapid-fire editing and grungy character designs? What purpose does that style of production pose for this kind of story? Ping Pong the Animation is a sort of middle ground in the world of sports anime. It isn't nearly as uplifting as Run with the Wind, nor does it have the scope of character and spectacle of a Haikyuu or Slam Dunk. The in-between world that Ping Pong occupies stems from its meta-modernist approach, as it uses highly emotional storytelling to create a deeply thematic text. At times, Ping Pong feels like a fever dream. Scenes pass over viewers like the mirage at the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Characters train, struggle, and compete in intense matches that never end the way you expect them to. As soon as you think the story is going to turn one way, it goes in another direction. No one finishes the show and stays the same, as it challenges the notion of what it means to be successful and tackles the realities of talent, the importance of purpose, and how competition is a vital tool for growth. So join me for this spoiler-free breakdown of how Ping Pong the Animation taught me how to live. And for those who have watched the series, there will be a spoiler-filled section near the video's end. Welcome to Annie Essays. Here we overanalyze anime and manga, with each video on the channel created under the belief that anime, same as film and literature, is worthy of in-depth criticism. If you enjoy my videos, then consider supporting me through Patreon. Patreon is a major support system for the channel and allows me to raise the quality of my videos and continue taking on even bigger and more interesting projects. If you support me through Patreon, you get access to this channel's Discord server, where I host my monthly anime watch-alongs, your name at the end of every video, and exclusive Patreon posts. If you enjoy my videos, then consider checking out Patreon and further joining the community. The central but not only focus of Ping Pong's story is Tsukimoto and Peco, two childhood best friends who are now first years for their high school ping pong club. The two of them are by far the best players on their new team, both growing up practicing at the same local club. We learn that Peco, who skips the first practice, is considered to be the better player. The hierarchy of the two gets challenged, as Coach Koizumi, or in a past life Butterfly Joe, notices that Tsukimoto holds back while playing against Peco. Tsukimoto's talent gets reinforced shortly after, as Kong, a foreign exchange student, similarly favors Tsukimoto over Peco. From this point on, Tsukimoto will grapple with his perceived talent and lack of drive to win, while Peco will discover if his talent still remains. Their relationship and growth serve as the core of Ping Pong, but that core does get expanded to 3 other characters. In episode 1, we meet an opposing school's new Chinese exchange student, Kong. He was kicked off his national team and sent to Japan as a way to recoup his status. A single loss for him at this stage would spell disaster for his career. At the story's first tournament, we meet the students of the powerhouse school Keio and delve into the psyche of the strongest player in the country, Dragon, and his first-year teammate Akuma, who grew up with Peco and Tsukimoto. Each player's contrasting outlook on ping pong drives the narrative forward. Kong feels a superiority to the other players because of his path and heritage. Peco was always the best growing up, so now he expects to play just as good, even with less training. Tsukimoto doesn't have a drive to win. Dragon only thinks about dominating his opponents, and Akuma analyzes every angle of how to get better at the sport, despite a perceived lack of talent. Once you finish the series, any one of the 5 could become an all-time favorite character for you, each getting ample time to develop and fully capturing the pressure and purpose of what it means to compete. Beyond players, the story does give a fair bit of focus to the past generation of athletes who now must leave their imprint on the sport through coaching, Butterfly Joe's past failures being a key insight into how the narrative will go. The story itself takes place over the course of about a year, focused on the Inner High tournament. Many characters enter this tournament feeling like their careers and identities are on the line. One of the things things that I love about this show is how it relates ping pong to general life. Fans of sport anime knows that sports is an ideal place to mimic the trials that life will put us through, and Ping Pong the Animation takes that to the extreme. So it comes with players feeling like their careers are on the line with each match, because a loss means they are not the strongest. The pressure of losing correlates with the existential pressure of modernity, that in our youth we must choose the correct life path or else we will never find fulfillment. This is where the concept of metamodernism becomes so critical in the story, as we want to find true meaning and purpose in a story like this, but also feel emotions and relate to the heroism and toughness of the characters. That kind of duality is mirrored by the central question of the story. Players are encouraged to give their all, to win every game they play, because they owe it to themselves to seize the depth of their talent. Yet there can only ever be one champion. Failure exists as a fallacy in the modern age. We are encouraged to make mistakes, but that isn't actually an option when it comes to things like school or work. If you fail a class, you no longer have the opportunity to advance to the biggest schools. If you mess up at work, you are put on notice, and in sports, if you mess up a play, you might be benched. Mistakes are often connected to laziness, as if you could never make an error unless you weren't trying enough. The pressure to make no mistake is made all the worse in the age of the internet, where individuals can put on the facade of success for everyone to see. It can be disheartening to go online when it appears that no one in the world has ever failed. If employers see employees as disposable, schools only expect perfect records, and everyone online seems like they have their shit together, then how are we not supposed to feel the weight of the world with every action we take? The majority of characters play as if their life is on the line, but in reality, it's just a game of ping pong. Does one loss in one tournament really have the ability to handicap an entire career? I know I often think in a similar way, wondering if one video fails or if a single job doesn't work out the way I thought it would, that I'll be considered a failure, that another opportunity to get better won't arise. Yet I'm still here making videos regardless of past failures or successes. That is an essential aspect of Ping Pong the Animation, as our characters learn to deal with the pressure of playing and the reality of what actually happens if they lose a game. Life goes on. The pressure of these games is given an equal amount of hype throughout the show's production. Here the pacing keeps everything moving forward as if the characters themselves are at risk of getting swallowed by time. The use of split screen creates an all-encompassing feeling. With only 11 episodes to get through the material, split screen does a great job at layering character reactions in one moment. When a screen shows multiple characters, all from different angles and perspectives, you simultaneously and subconsciously develop an understanding of who each character is simply by how they react. This, mixed with an amazing score, means that each match moves with a pace that will get your heart pumping. It also allows the staff to use metaphor and expressionism to relay the themes of each encounter, while the split screen actually brings you closer to the characters in a way and elevates the hype of each match. It also lends itself to the fever dream feel I mentioned earlier. For those who are past their high school years, you might remember them in a similar way to how Ping Pong the Animation feels. A mirage that took so long in the moment, but looking back is only a blip on the reality of your life. Coming of age is such a compelling narrative because it matches meaningful life choices with tangible growth. With the perfect pairing of style and content, Ping Pong solidifies itself as a masterclass in that genre. One of the things I find most interesting about Ping Pong is how it makes you sympathize with various archetypes of characters. Underdogs and favorites alike are all worthy of exploration and end up creating an equal amount of empathy within the viewer. The value of sports anime often comes down to the emphasis on winning. Winning for the characters is a proof of concept for individual ideologies. Although if you sit with sports anime for any period of time, you realize that none of these series put winning above preparing in the right way. But Tsukimoto's different than most sports anime characters we come across, as he is totally indifferent towards winning, and will let others beat him if he thinks it'll make them happy. Tsukimoto's ideology betrays how most of us understand sports, because when you play a game, both parties need to try and win, or else it loses its value. Tsukimoto's sentiment of letting others win is nice in theory, but in practice it will only cause more pain in the long run. Ping Pong the Animation is a collage of modernity. It It captures the existential pressure that we feel and the lengths we go to try and overcome it. As you watch the show, you come to understand the importance of staying in the moment. Everyone puts on a facade of being great, but that is really worthless in the end if you don't find pleasure in the small things. It is so easy to feel like you're getting left behind in life. That is how the players feel, yet not one single moment ever comes to define the players. But with each trial and error, they learn to better understand themselves. Truly living does not come from putting the weight of the world on your shoulders. It doesn't stem from expectations of who you should be or what you should accomplish, but by defining who you are. That comes from trial and error, not pressure to be great, but the joy of trying new things and seeing where life takes you. That is one of the many lessons that Ping Pong the Animation leaves for its viewers, and if you haven't given the show a try, I strongly recommend you do, for through its frantic production, it creates the perfect blend of characters that you can fall in love with and themes that will inspire you and make you want to change the way you live your life. Now let's talk spoilers so we can dive into some of these specifics around what makes this narrative so great. The viewer's relationship with Peco and his development throughout represents how in control the staff was of the story. It all starts with framing and perspective, as Peco is first seen as the arrogant and lazy talented person. When he loses to Kong and later to Akuma in the Inner High tournament, our sadness comes mixed with satisfaction. Peco deserved to lose since he doesn't try hard. At the Inner High, we are simultaneously frustrated for Tsukimoto not taking the reward of winning. But by the series' end, we don't have any feelings of animosity towards Peco. Peco's journey is one of rediscovery, a search to find his passion for the game once again, and in doing so, he becomes a hero. Tsukimoto, or Smile's development, is a masterclass, as he finds the importance of playing to win through his fallen hero in Peco. Tsukimoto always smiled when he played ping pong with Peco, but over the years, Peco's game grew stale and his work ethic started to rot. Because of that, Tsukimoto lost his smile, because his idol wasn't living up to his potential. Peco's loss to Akuma changes Smile's outlook on how he plays, as he now decides to not let his opponents win, even if they need it more badly than he does. Tsukimoto realizes that if you're going to engage with a sport, you need to give it your all, not because we need success, but the value of sport comes from each side playing with the intent to win. If one side doesn't play with that intent, then it loses meaning. Tsukimoto develops a robot-like exterior and goes on a massive win streak, and that helps Peco rediscover his passion. This leads us to their fated showdown at the story's end. Earlier in the story, Butterfly Joe talks about his past. He found himself in the finals paired against his injured friend, and he made the choice to not play to his fullest and let his friend take the title and go on to be a ping pong phenomenon, with Butterfly Joe's career gone forever. Now Tsukimoto finds himself in the same position. Peco, with an injured leg from the sudden overwork, faces Smile in the finals. But Tsukimoto doesn't hold back, and the two of them play on equal footing, for what may be the only time in their entire lives. Peco wins the game and goes on to be one of the best players in the world. Peco winning this match makes you wonder if Butterfly Joe would have even won that match all those years ago if he'd tried his best. Certainly if he did, he wouldn't be living a life of doubt so many years on. Peco started as the most talented player and ends up on top of everyone after only a little work. His match with Dragon shows that perspective is always essential to success, as Dragon put his life into the idea of winning, and for all of his talent and training, he falls short to Peco in his raw talent and joy of the game. The time skip in the final episode shows where all of our characters end up. Tsukimoto, a first grade teacher, Dragon struggling to stay on the Olympic team, and Peco and Kong representing their nations. Kong's story reinforces hope for the viewers, showing that one failure does not set us down a specific path. Kong failed multiple times during the series, losing to Dragon and then to Peco, but his mindset changes from trying to be the best to helping lift up his new teammates. Just by knowing that Kong has gone on to become such a great player, we can assume that through a collective relationship with his new teammates, he was able to reach these new and greater heights. These last few episodes of the show is some of the most emotionally driven storytelling you'll find. The match between between Dragon and Peco is the peak of the production here, as Peco transforms into a hero and flies in front of the powerhouse that is Dragon. None of the characters end where we thought they would, and the rest is an unforgettable roller coaster of a show. It is satisfying seeing a show adopt a unique style to tell a universal story. It is so easy to get caught up in the river of life, moving at a pace that makes you feel like you can never slow down. Expectations only grow as we get older, and that makes it hard to remember who we used to be, the dreams we used to have. Peco failed at his first Inner High tournament, Kong failed 3 times over, yet both of them make it to the top. Tsukimoto said he didn't want to pursue a career in ping pong, and despite everyone trying to get him to become something he's not, Smile held strong and helped his hero rise. One thing that comes up time and again in this series is that it's important to try your hardest so you have a clear perspective on who you are. And it's so easy at times to put the weight of the world on your shoulders, to go through life with the feeling that no matter what you do, if the results are negative, you will never get another chance. Ping pong shows that for the truest success, we need to live life with a more childlike outlook on the world. For Peco, Tsukimoto, Kong, and Dragon, it is not the drive to be the greatest, but to play with freedom, joy, and connection that takes their game to the next level. And that is how we ought to live our lives, not burdened by the weight of becoming great, but by embracing the freedom and joy of the moment. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was so fun to watch Ping Pong the Animation with last month's watch along, so I just knew I had to make a video about it. One of the best ways to support me is through Patreon. Through Patreon, you get access to this channel's Discord server where we talk all things anime, manga, media, where I also host my anime monthly watch alongs, where in August we did watch Ping Pong the Animation. So check out my Patreon link down below. Make sure to stop by some of my streams if you enjoy it, and I hope to see you in the next one.